Welcome on into the podcast. I'm Brett.
I'm Dorian.
And thank you guys for supporting us. Make sure you guys subscribe, like, and share this podcast out to your friends. We would appreciate it so much if you did that. It helps the channel grow and the podcast grow. So we got some nerd news for you today. Dorian, what are we talking about?
We're talking about quite a few things. So first, we're going to be talking about The World Ends With You, a new game that got just announced this week. We're going to be talking about Black Panther 2, Mandalorian Chapter 13. But first things first, Mads Mickelson is Grindlewald.
Yeah, he's confirmed as Grindlewald. We talked about this the last couple of weeks, I guess. Pretty much since we got in the news. First, it was, Johnny Depp is no longer with the Fantastic Beasts 3, and that we were trying to think, and people were pointing to Mads Mickelson as like, the fans were kind of the ones that pushed this, it sounds like. So, this is another Sonic scenario, in my opinion, where studios are listening to us, and this is a prime example. We got Mads Mickelson as Grindelwald confirmed. What are you thinking about this?
I mean, as someone who has not seen any of these movies here, seems fantastic. I mean,
it's pretty Fantastic Beasts, right?
Absolutely. But so honestly, I mean, just from what I know about Grindelwald and just what I know about Mads Mikkelsen, he seems like a pretty good replacement given the circumstances. I still think.
I was going to say, I do know something he was in that you have seen, which is Casino Royale. Casino Royale as well.
Casino Royale, yeah. Rogue One. He's also plays like kind of like a villain / side character in Death Stranding here. So,
okay, gotcha.
But yeah, he. I mean, no, I think this is kind of a instance where Warner Brothers is listening to the fans. I think at this point they kind of have to buy some goodwill back, just because, for one, Fantastic Beasts 2, from what I heard, wasn't all that great.
No, it wasn't.
And also the fact that this whole controversy with Johnny Depp and Amber Heard, and the fact that Amber Heard is still attached to Aquaman 2, I think is definitely. I think they definitely had to do some damage control with this. So I think this is kind of, one of the things where they were like, okay, this is actually a pretty good actor, for one, and two, this is what the fans want. So it's going to be kind of a little bit more of a win-win situation for everybody involved.
Totally. Let's talk about some more win-win situations, at least for us. The World Ends With You is not ending. It's not ending with just The World Ends With You. It's got a sequel coming out. So this was a game that came out on the DS
back in 2008.
2008. The sequel is going to be called Neo: The World Ends With You.
Which, I mean, kind of a weird naming process, but then again,
it means new. Like
sure.
So I understand where they're going with it, but yeah, why wouldn't they name it like something completely different?
Or The World Ends With You, Neo.
Right?
I feel like it's just weird putting the new word in front of like the name of the franchise.
Yeah.
Then again, this is coming from the same company that did not that completely botched the numbering system for Final Fantasy in the States for years on end here. Like Final Fantasy 2 was actually Final Fantasy 4 and stuff. And then let's not get started on Kingdom Hearts. What kind of titles that they got? Like 360 over 2 days or some garbage like that. So, but let's get to like what we actually need to talk about.
So it comes out 2021.
Summer of 2021 for PS4 and Switch.
Yep.
And
it looks dope.
It's going to be 3D, which, I mean, I kind of figured like if we were going to get a sequel, like they would probably try to go with like kind of
2D,
kind of like how Hades is, something like that,
totally.
isometric type of thing.
Well, do you want to explain to them kind of not the premise, but like how the gameplay is, and then why it makes this game so awesome? Because you're actually the one who turned me on to this game, if you don't remember correctly.
Actually I do. Yeah. So basically, how this game, kind of the premise or just the cliff notes of this game. It's set in Shibuya, Japan. Basically what it is you're involved in something called the Reaper's game, and it's not very clear on like what that means, but you're giving like these tasks that you have to do, otherwise you're basically dead. And the gameplay kind of consists of, I mean, I can't really speak for this game per se, just because it seems like they're going to be redoing the combat from the ground up here for the most part. but but basically what it is, it relies on a pin system. So basically you get these pins that you can like essentially evolve like your Pokemon kind of almost here that give you like special abilities and powers and stuff. And it's, they're set like on timer. So it's not like you're just like constantly spamming. You have to, get a loadout that you are comfortable with that kind of complements each other. So you might say have a pin that like does like long range or like an AoE attack, and you need something that while those are on cooldown and they might have a long cooldown, you might have to like get in close and personal and like do like melee attacks, so to speak.
Yeah, the pins are essentially your abilities.
Exactly. So I mean, that being said, with the original, it was like touchscreen controls, and you would also have another player that or another character that you would be controlling on the top screen with the D-pad. You'd do inputs on there while you're fighting people on like the touch screen. Obviously, that's not going to happen on this game.
Yeah.
But I mean, basically, with this game, the combat looks like it's similar to Kingdom Hearts almost. Here, just kind of the vibes I got. I did notice that they still had the pin system there, so that's cool.
Yeah,
and they also looks like it's gonna have just like 3 people with you as opposed like the 2 people in your party here. So that's another thing that's kind of new and exciting.
Something we might get to, and I don't know what the story is obviously, but some cross-platform co-op stuff going on maybe.
I mean, potentially. I mean, because that is kind of all the rage these days. You're seeing more and more games adopt the cross-platform model, whether that's like, a big game like Fortnite or even like something like kind of smaller scale like Rogue Company. You're getting cross-platform for a lot of these games, which is awesome. But one of the things about this, even though this is going to be 3D, it's still keeping that art style that you got in the original, which I think is just absolutely
anime,
phenomenal.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, it's like anime,
steampunk, kind of.
Yeah, it's like,
but Square Enix, too. It's still got the Square Enix vibe.
Yeah, it's got the Square Enix vibe. It's got essentially the same like art feel as the original. Like, I don't know if you noticed in the trailer, but like in the original game, they had like buildings that were kind of like they played with like perspective weird, like in a weird way. Where,
I remember that.
Slanted. Yeah, and in the trailer, like even in 3D, they're still doing that, which I'm like, okay, that's cool.
We should have honestly assumed something was coming when they did was it the remaster that came out on Switch a couple years ago, like 2 years ago?
There was a remaster that came out.
It was last year, actually. It was 2019.
I think it was 2018.
Was it 2018?
I think so, but
I still haven't got it. I need to get it.
Yeah, no, I'm actually gonna probably pick it up too, just because. I mean,
gotta get ready for the sequel.
The hype is real.
Yeah.
So that being said, you also get Minamoto, who's he was a boss and a villain in the first game, and now he's a playable character here. So that's cool.
That's sick. Yeah.
Yeah, and then it's unclear whether or not this is going to be a sequel or a prequel, just because. I mean, you don't have like really, other than like a few faces that pop up in the trailer. Like most of the characters are completely brand new. It looks like completely brand new story for the most part.
Yep.
I mean, Christmas came early, man.
Yeah,
for me. I mean,
this is such an underrated IP. I feel like this it obviously doesn't get as close to the love as Kingdom Hearts and Final Fantasy, because I don't want to stick in that same genre, because honestly the combat is so much different, so much more unique. I remember that being almost my favorite part of the game, besides the story being really good, was being able to combine really different abilities and figure out what's your loadout going to be, and how do you like to play, because you could play the game completely different than the way I play the game, and still be effective. So
and you even had like other systems in there as well, like beyond the combat. You had essentially like what gear you would wear would give you benefits in what areas you were in the city for one, and then it's I think one of the reasons why it just didn't take off is just because it was just on the DS here for one, so you have a little bit of a limited a limited audience that you're going to for that particular one. It was for the most part trapped on the DS for the longest time until the recent remaster. But
right.
no, this was something that I honestly didn't think we would be getting a sequel to, just because people who've been a fan of the original game for the longest time it's been teased that there was going to be something new coming, and it would always be something like, oh yeah, we're porting it to iPad, or oh yeah, we're porting this to Switch. It's like, give us something new,
Right.
and they finally did it, and I'm just stoked about it.
Totally. Yeah, I honestly forgot about this game for a little bit until, man, I don't know when it was, and for whatever reason it popped back in my brain. I was like, oh man, that I forgot that the remix or the remaster came out, and then all of a sudden we get this news out of nowhere, and not just a game, we're getting an anime. We're getting an anime about The World Ends With You. So
yeah,
that's also going to be pretty dope,
Yeah, exactly. So I mean, no, it's a good time to be a World's End With You fan. I mean, I'm right now, this is my most anticipated game for next year, and I say that with an asterisk because I don't know when Breath of the Wild 2 is coming out. I don't know when God of War Ragnarok is coming out. So again, but as of right now, this is what I'm placing my chips on.
Totally. No, I get it. I mean, this and Digimon Survive, which was supposed to come out this year, but it got pushed back to next year.
Oh, did it? Okay.
Yeah, that's another one of my. I mean, I'm on a Digimon kick right now, but
fair enough.
That's always been one of those franchises similar, just near and dear to my heart. That wasn't. It was big, but it wasn't like Pokemon big. Like it's those kind of fringe franchises that I think stick with us even more than the mainline franchises, and this is one of those franchises. So I'm just excited all around for it.
It's a matter of like when something's unappreciated, it gives you more appreciation for it.
Everyone talking like about Community now, and I'm like, where were you 10 years ago?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. So. But no, it's one of those things where it's like, because something is underappreciated, it kind of prompts you to appreciate something more. Just because it's not getting the love or adoration that it deserves, basically.
Yeah, absolutely.
Here. So yeah.
Well, let's talk about some Black Panther 2 news, which is surprising to me just based on, the circumstances.
Very surprising, yeah.
But yeah, what do we know about it so far? Because it's moving forward.
Yeah, so this kind of came out of nowhere for the most part. But basically, it's going to begin shooting in 2021. Shuri, who is played by Letita Wright, I think that's how you pronounce her name. She is going to have a more prominent role. It almost sounds like she is going to be the main character, which, I mean, makes sense seeing how
happens in the comics too.
Right, exactly. But like Chadwick Boseman is no longer with us here, so he's not. I don't think they've shot anything with him to do that. So
I mean, I would not be surprised if they did. To be honest, if they actually did film something knowing he was going to pass away soon, I could see them doing that really. And because it got to a point where. When you have stage 4, there's pretty much nothing you can do. And so I wonder if he was like, you know what, let's choose something for the fans and, have it be like, even if it's him in the afterworld or something like, something like that, that's kind of meta, but also, would mean a lot to the fans.
They kind of do something like, Leia with episode 9, how they use some unused footage and,
totally
tailored it around and use some trickery with green screening and all that. That could be an option potentially. But yeah, so I'm honestly just surprised that they're actually going to go for this, just because, for one, like, the first Black Panther is going to be one of those movies that is going to be thought as kind of almost a historic movie, for lack of a better term, just because it just like made so much money. It was just like loved by a lot of people, for one.
Totally.
So it's
it was a great movie,
right? But then, like, you also have the fact that not only that, but the fact that you cannot make you cannot get the main character back for the sequel. Unfortunately, rest in peace, Chadwick Boseman. But you cannot bring him back. So it's kind of one of those things where it's like, okay, like, why? Like, I would have thought that, okay, yeah, we're not going to touch that. Like, we're just going to let this movie have its legacy. Yeah. We're not going to try to, get more money off of it or try to continue the story without it. I mean, granted, yeah, sure, they have storylines with Shuri as the Black Panther from the comics, but I don't know if that's what people are really, really wanting, especially considering how Shuri has been portrayed so far in the MCU, because she's been kind of like a comedic character who's just kind of more of like the brains versus like the straight up warrior type per se, even though she does do some fighting and like, Black Panther, Endgame, and Infinity War. It's like, I don't know, it just kind of seems like it's not like, she doesn't seem like a straight 1-to-1 replacement, I guess. I don't know.
No,
I mean,
it's definitely gonna be a different character.
Yeah.
You have to remember too that the Black Panther wasn't just like who's the best athlete, even though technically they could challenge each other, but it was whoever was the ruler of Wakanda. So if it's Shuri's next in line, that's then she's gonna have to defend it. She's gonna have to learn something. And they don't have any more of the plant or whatever.
Flower power.
Yeah.
Yeah, they don't have any more of that. So
but that's easy to retcon. You could just go, oh, well, actually, there was more in this specific area we didn't tell anyone about.
There's definitely going to be some retconning going on, and I mean, who knows? Maybe they'll just go like straight technology based with.
Yeah, that'd be actually pretty sick. Maybe just have her wear armor and have like the gauntlet still.
Right, like as opposed to like saying like, okay, yes, we're going to give you, the superpower flower here or something like that. We're going to
you're going to have to tech it up.
You're just going to have to tech it up to where you actually just have like, the strength, agility, and all that other stuff here. So,
yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Speaking of moving forward, let's talk about Deadpool 3 is officially official and in development. It's surprising.
Yeah. Well, yeah, especially considering how back in Comic-Con, or, what we had for Comic-Con this year, the creator of Deadpool said like, there's nothing happening with Deadpool 3.
Liar.
Well, I mean,
he probably didn't know at this point.
He probably didn't know, or or that might have created some backlash to the point where Disney had to listen. But so basically what we got going on is 2 writers from Bob's Burgers are going to be writing the screenplay. It will be produced by Marvel and Kevin Feige. Now, there's no word on whether or not this is going to be officially an R-rated movie or when it will be coming out, but I guess like based on like the scheduling of like some of the people involved, it's probably safe to assume that this will probably be coming out after 2022, I would imagine.
Yeah, so. Definitely. Probably 2023 to even 2025, depending on where they want to plop it, as far as the slate. No, I think this is cool. I think we're going to get a mixture of where there's still going to probably be a rated R there's still going to be rated R Deadpool, but also get Deadpool to cross over with other characters, and maybe it's just super meta and he bleeps himself or something like that, know.
Which I mean, I think that would honestly be hilarious here, but I mean, it's it'll be interesting. I mean, the main thing I really want to know is like, okay, is this still going to be its own thing, or is it going to intersect with the MCU? Because I mean, honestly, the potential of it intersecting with the MCU is what interests me the most about this movie. Now that Fox is owned by Disney, and they have pretty much all their characters back in house. So it's like, okay, what are you guys going to do with them? Are you guys actually going to start incorporating that? How's that going to work?
Yeah, totally. And sky's the limit, really. I mean, they can do whatever they want with that character, and that's kind of the cool thing about Deadpool is he pops in and out of stuff, and I mean, he could be in there just for a cameo, then be gone. Like the camera cuts away right when he's about to cuss or something like that, and then
exactly, or you can even have like I mean, how crazy would it be if he is in the 3rd Tom Holland movie here? Because seeing how that's gonna probably
that's definitely possible.
Yeah,
I mean, with the multiverse and stuff like that.
Well, especially considering how like Spider-Man and Deadpool have like kind of like almost like
pretty good relationship. Yeah,
kind of a defined relationship in the comics, so it makes sense.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
All right, let's talk about a couple weeks ago or last couple weeks. There's been a lot of stuff that's been coming to streaming services, and so more good news on that front. We talked about Wonder Woman 1984 coming, Monster Hunter potentially coming, and then Soul. And now we have some news on Godzilla versus King Kong potentially on HBO Max because Netflix did not want to pay $200 million to have it on their platform, which I get. But what else is going to happen with this? What does this mean?
So long story short, apparently Netflix offered the $200 million to have the movie premiere on their service, but
just
I guess
premiere, not sole rights or anything like that, right?
I'm not entirely sure, but I mean,
Okay.
I just
Okay.
use the word premiere in the show notes just because that would be the first place we would
Sure.
have seen it here. So, but that being said, Warner Media apparently blocked the deal because it has a partnership with HBO Max. Now, Legendary Pictures, the guys who are actually making the movie, have not commented on this, on whether or not this is going to be something that will go to HBO Max or not. Currently, the movie is at a release date of May 21st of next year.
Okay.
So that's basically all we know. But just given the fact that it seems like they were willing to meet with Netflix about putting it on demand or a streaming service as opposed to the theatrical release, tells me that they are at least thinking about the possibility of doing this here. Now, that being said, I could see them waiting until May 21st and doing like a Wonder Woman situation where they release it on HBO Max and in theaters on the same day, possibly.
Mm-hmm.
But I think right now they're probably just looking at Wonder Woman and saying, let's wait and see how this does.
Totally.
If it's successful, we'll make a move for it. But I mean, personally, I think I would probably prefer to watch this in the theaters just because of it's going to be a big spectacle.
It's a big monster fighting movie.
Exactly.
Yeah, I'm on the same page with you on that. I'm not sure if I'll actually check this movie out, but I think I'm more excited for what it means for on demand and just kind of that looking like the future platform and model going forward.
Yeah. I mean, again, it's like we still really don't know what the state of movie theaters are going to be looking like in 6 months from now or however long.
Yeah.
Because I mean we have a vaccine that's approved here, so we don't know how quickly normal will become normal again here. But
yeah, I mean, I don't think anything's gonna go back to normal anytime soon. But it's unfortunate, but a lot of the movie theaters are done. They're just done. Like you can't stay in business for a year without doing business.
Well, and AMC apparently is I think on the verge for filing for bankruptcy.
I think they did file.
Did they? Okay, yeah. Which that's going to be a significant blow to the movie theater experience. I mean, yeah, it's going to be something that's really just kind of more rare, which I think will definitely drive up the price for tickets more. Just because if there's fewer movie theaters around here, I think it's gonna be kind of considered like almost like a theme park or like a experience of sorts or whatever.
I mean, we already pay a premium. You got to think like movies cost anywhere between $13 and $15 to go see.
Right. I'm thinking like maybe they'll person. I think they might start charging like maybe more like maybe $10. I mean, again, this is just me speculating. I have no idea whether or not this will actually pan out per se.
Right.
But man, I mean, yeah, it's going to be a shame if this is just the way things go. Which I mean, at this point in time, it's kind of looking more likely than not.
Yeah. Let's talk about Last of Us. It has officially been ordered to series, and so they're moving forward with this.
Yeah, so a couple months back, we got the word that HBO was going to produce a Last of Us show, and the writers from the original game were going to be involved. And it's going to be focused on the story from the first game, and production is expected to start soon. No firm details on casting or release date or like projected release date or anything like that. So that's pretty much all we know so far. I mean, like I said before, I mean, I think HBO and a TV show format is a great way to adapt The Last of Us.
Mm-hmm.
But I think the challenge is like, how do you differentiate yourself from all the zombie stuff that we got like a couple years back that was like everywhere,
Totally. I mean, for me, I didn't play these games. I don't know anything really about the IP, so
sure.
I know this is something that you really enjoy, or at least you enjoyed the first one. I don't really know how you feel about the second one, but
I mean, the second one, I was kind of, I don't know, lukewarm about it. I mean, there was parts I like, and then there was, I would say like maybe the first half of the game I liked, and then the second half I wasn't like too big of a fan of. But no, I think I think ultimately because one of the critiques I had about the first game was I'm like, okay, this is cool. I mean, this is like a video game version of like this per se, right? Like, this movie or that TV show. And now that this is going to become a TV show, it's like, okay, what is this going to make different? It's kind of like the same issue that I have with the Uncharted movie. It's like,
okay, yeah, what's it actually going to do to the franchise?
Well,
How's it going to transfer?
Right, because I always with Uncharted, I was like, okay, this is basically Indiana Jones the video game base at unofficially. And now that we have a movie that's something that is being based off of Uncharted that exists in the same space as like the Indiana Jones movie, it's going to be like, okay, so how's this going to be special here? Because I mean, what made it special was there was nothing like it in its own medium.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that's all for our nerd news. Let's move on to roundtable review. Dorian, take it away.
Chapter 13, Mandalorian, the Jedi.
Yeah. What do we need to say about this? Honestly, masterpiece. That does that.
I mean, so this again. Spoilers ahead.
Yeah.
Spoilers. We're not gonna do an in-depth analysis or anything like that. But man, best episode this season, if not for the entire series.
If not one of the best things that happened in Star Wars since the beginning.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, this was essentially this gave you pretty much everything that you probably wanted to see out of this show.
Yeah.
It came to fruition in this episode. And
I mean, off the bat, we get Ahsoka Tano. It wasn't a teaser. It wasn't.
I was so surprised by that.
Yeah, it was straight up action scene from the beginning. An action scene. We got the lightsabers, which that was the one thing I call into question because I remember them reporting that the lightsabers she was going to use were going to be blue. Don't you remember that?
I don't specifically. I mean, because she's had like a couple different colors like throughout like her run in like Clone Wars, hasn't she?
Yeah, well, she had green ones, and
but she at the end of like Clone Wars, she had like, weren't they like kind of like whitish blue, kind of or something like that?
Well, the ones Anakin gave her.
Yeah. Well,
those are just blue. Yeah, those are just blue. Right. And Rebels, she has white ones.
Okay, so
these are the same ones from Rebels because I was looking at the hilts, and they're the exact same ones that they've made the toys of before, based on her character in Rebels. One's is the what do they call it? Not a Kato. It's like a short lightsaber, basically. I can't remember the name of it.
Right,
and then one's full size. But yeah, they're kind of curved hilts, and they're really they're made from actually an Inquisitor's lightsaber from Rebels.
Okay, yeah.
And then she basically reverse bleeded the crystals and made them white. And so and they got a cool sound to them. Like when she first activated them, I was like, hold up. Like I thought we were going to start with Mando fighting these guys somehow. And I was like, hold up, wait a second. No. And then she just went off on all those guys. And
she got her Batman on in that.
Yeah. She was
a couple scenes in this
big time
episode here. Yeah.
Honestly, first thoughts on the combat for me, dude, better than the sequel trilogy, period.
Yeah, no, I would
agree.
Better
than the sequel trilogy, period.
Yeah, I mean, that's a very good point that I'm now just realizing. When she chops that tree and then like uses the force to like push a part of that tree into somebody and like slice another guy. Yeah, no, so much better choreography. Like, what the heck, Disney? Why didn't we get this on a multi-million-dollar movie?
Yeah.
It makes no sense.
Yeah, so I mean, I gotta watch it again. My wife's watching right now. I'll probably end up watching it again some point this weekend. I don't know.
Yeah.
Gosh, man, what a solid episode. Really, really cool. The premise of the episode, real quick, is there's basically this lady in power called the Magister, keeping herself rich.
Isn't it Magistrate or?
I don't know. I thought it was Magister, but it could have been Magistrate. I can't remember. Okay. Basically, she's like the dictator of this small little town.
Yeah, and emphasis on the dictator here because that's pretty much what she does.
Everyone's dirt poor, and then you go. It kind of reminded me of like the different areas in Boston, say, where there's like the really poor area and then the really rich area.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
And she's living it up. She's got like waterfalls and ponds and beautiful architecture, and then it's just trash beyond that.
It's essentially like if you lived in like a rundown trailer park, but then like there's this one house up the road, like in the trailer park that has like this beautiful Japanese garden and all that here, and just
totally. Yeah, and that's definitely what it kind of reminded me of too. But basically, the Mandos shows up. This is after the fight, and Ahsoka's asking for details. And she said, "You have 24 hours, and I'm going to come back." Basically, and so she's looking for someone. We don't know who. We have no idea who. The Mandalorian shows up, and he's trying to get information at all costs. He wants to find the Jedi. He knows that the Jedi is on this planet, and so he goes to the lady, the magister or magistrate, whatever you want to call her. I can't remember, but goes to her, and she says, "Hey, I need you to kill me a Jedi. You guys have been warring for centuries, basically. Can you do that?" And he's like, "Yeah." And then she had a Beskar spear that would be his if he killed her. And so, sick. First of all, number one, where'd you get that?
So I kind of went through a little bit of I had a difference of opinion like in this episode here, at least starting out, because when I saw the Beskar spear, I'm like, dude, what are you gonna do with that? You have laser guns. That's kind of pointless. But then when you found out like how like that Beskar steel can stand up to a lightsaber.
Oh yeah, no, that's known.
Like, yeah, I didn't.
That's why they wear it.
Yeah, I didn't know that.
Oh yeah.
So I thought like that was just. I thought it was just like blasters here.
For the most part. Yeah, no. Yeah. They designed it basically to fight against Jedi. So you had to have something good,
Yeah, I guess so. So I'm like, okay, so that's basically how he's gonna fight Moff Gideon with the Darksaber.
Yep, that makes a lot of sense. So yeah, basically he ends up getting it at the end because they're gonna win the fight. But then Mando gets the information of where she's at, the coordinates, and then they fight, which is where you just said basically you find you see what Beskar can do when pushed against the odds. And
which by the way, brief fight scene between Mando and Ahsoka, but that was sick. Again, better than pretty much anything the sequel trilogy threw at us here. Just in those like 10 or 15 seconds that they fought each other here.
Yeah, and then what about our boy Grogu?
Yeah, we got a name.
we got a name for the child, guys. We got a name. So and then this kind of made sense to me. And basically, you see Ahsoka, and after the Mandalorian her patch things up, try to figure out what they're going to do with the child. And she's obviously intrigued by the child because it's one of Yoda's species. And she had information, like basically they're like reading each other's minds. They were feeling each other through the Force. And we get background on the child. His name's Grogu. He was raised at the Jedi Temple by many masters and then hidden after Order 66. Super interesting.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I really am enjoying just the steady flow of information that we're getting like in these past like 3 episodes. We're learning more about pretty much everything that's going on in terms of like Mando and the child and just the conflict that they might be heading into and all that. So I'm all about it.
Yeah. Man, yeah, I was just very surprised at how much information we actually got in this episode when it came to the child. And now that we can call him by his name, that's even, I'm not a huge fan of the name. It's fine, but
well, right. When we've called him Baby Yoda or the child for so long, it's kind of hard to go back from that. But one thing I do want to bring up is the fact that he does have a gap in his memory. He doesn't have the complete. He's not completely. he hasn't have like a complete recollection of like what happened between his time at the Jedi Temple and up to this point here. So
yeah, basically after that, he remembers the before, but after the order happened, he kind of shut it out because it's basically too painful for him to relive, I guess, through the Force when him and Ahsoka were talking through the Force. But yeah, really interesting that he was around in the Clone Wars, and I'm trying to figure out how they're going to fit this character into, other media sources and stuff like that. Pretty cool. Yeah, just I'm interested to see how that pans out, I guess.
Yeah.
But yeah, so basically after she's sitting down with him, she figures he's too attached to the Mando because, he's been his only like protector for the last, however long they've been together, and he's too attached. So Ahsoka's worried that the fear and them separating would turn him to the dark side eventually.
Right.
And so Ahsoka won't train him essentially. And then they go on this basically escapade to go take back the city and they do because Ahsoka's going to do some Ahsoka stuff, which was super dope, going on top of rooftops and deflecting stuff and going one-on-one with the bad lady.
Yep.
And all that stuff.
Mando's reflexes in this episode are grease lightning.
Basically. Oh yeah. He gets in a couple standoffs, and that was pretty cool, the Mexican standoff almost, where and then the guy tried to be dirty on him. He put his blaster down, and then Mando drew quick. But
then there 2 seconds later, there's that droid on the roof that's trying to snipe
behind you. Yeah, super cool. But yeah, anyway, there was some pretty heavy name drop at the end of this episode.
Yeah,
pretty heavy. Which basically makes me rethink who's really in charge.
We were literally talking about this last week about.
We were.
Yeah.
So basically, Ahsoka, after she's fighting the bad lady, goes, "I want to talk to your boss. Where's Grand Admiral Thrawn?" And I was like, "Oh snap!" Oh snap! So if you guys know anything about Grand Admiral Thrawn, he was basically the tactician, like genius behind a lot of the things that happened right after. It was during the Clone Wars that he got discovered by the Empire.
Sure. Well, at least like in this rebooted.
Right. Yeah. So basically, I mean, he's got to be pulling the strings behind Gideon. Like he's got to be the guy. Well, unless there's two different factions right now, and he's still hidden.
Because refresh my memory, like is Admiral above or Grand Admiral Abron like
he's above Moff Gideon.
Okay, so
he's the guy. Yeah,
and he's got to be. But I mean, I guess the question is like, okay, is Thrawn actually going to become like the main guy for this show, or is this going to be for Ahsoka's show? Because
in order to understand where we're at, I think Rebels has to come into play, like the show, which Dave Filoni was a part of. So I can see them bringing more characters back from that show. But yeah, so at the end of Rebels, basically Ezra and Thrawn basically get teleported out of deep space somewhere potentially, or they're dead. You're not really sure. And I won't go into specifics because I don't want to ruin it for anyone. But basically, that's what happens. And so at the end, Ahsoka and Sabine end up going. That's their mission, is to go look for Ezra. Yeah. And so I'm wondering now, if we're gonna find a Grand Admiral, if we're gonna find Thrawn, is Ezra gonna come into the fray?
And I think he has to.
Yeah, especially with Ahsoka going, "Hey, I'm not going to train him, but some other Jedi can." That was interesting to me. But basically, hey, you need to go, to this place, this Jedi temple, and meditate. And Grogu has to decide if he wants to continue with his training, and he'll reach out through the Force, and there will be a Jedi to reach out back. She said, "Not many survive, but there are some of us out there." Which is, for me, it's Luke Skywalker or Ezra Bridger. Those are really the only other ones we know a ton about that have survived. Cal Kestis, if we want to get him canon,
Yeah. You could go that route here. I mean, I'm not entirely. I mean, part of me wants to say like maybe it's like a completely original character that survived Order 66, but then again, you got Dave Filoni on the writer or in the writing room, basically So I'm assuming that he's probably going to be bringing some of his people that he created into the fray and like kind of just have more overlap in this era of Star Wars here, essentially. But yeah, I mean, man, this episode is like essentially if you are anywhere familiar with like Clone Wars or got like decently involved, this was the episode for you here.
Totally.
I mean, yeah.
Yeah. Man, this could have been the finale, to be honest. This could have been the finale of season 2 and everything would have been great.
That's what we were discussing was because like I was so surprised we got an episode like this that wasn't the season finale, just on like how this episode was firing on all cylinders.
Yeah.
No hesitation on like getting things moving, getting the ball rolling, all the revelations and reveals. Yeah, this could have easily been a season finale. And we got this basically mid-season. So it's honestly like makes me wonder, like, what are they actually going to do for the season finale? It's like, are they actually going to go to Mandalore? Is he going to square off with Boba Fett? Is it just going to be another conflict with Moff Gideon, Bo-Katan, and Ahsoka? I have no idea. I mean, because they have done like so much legwork just for this season so far that, I mean, I honestly thought that the season 2 finale was going to be them finding Ahsoka Tano, and that was going to be it.
Yeah, totally. I figured they would be using her in this episode, but I didn't think it'd be this much. I had no idea. But yeah, all around great episode. If I had to give it a score, 10 out of 10.
Yeah, I'm thinking right there with you. I mean, if not 10 out of 10, really close to it here.
9.8, yeah.
I mean, I don't know, something, but then at that point you might as well just give it, but
give it a 10, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, best show of this season, or best episode of this season, maybe best episode of the show. Definitely one of the best Star Wars things that we've ever gotten.
So, totally.
Yeah.
Well, if you don't have anything else, that's it.
That's it.
That's what we got. Thank you guys for listening. We greatly appreciate it. Check us out on our social media. Make sure you go to our YouTube and subscribe. Like us on Facebook. Have an awesome week. Remember, everyone's a nerd about something.